Okay, Committee on Judiciary and Home Affairs called to order. It's 2:02 p.m. on Monday, the 14th of February. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Here for decision making. So at this time, I'd like to invite members to the caucus room.
Yeah, separate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me invite members into the breakout room. The hearing of the Committee on Judiciary and Hawaiian Affairs. We are back for decision-making on a number of bills from February 11th agenda. HB 1787, House Draft 1, Persons with Disabilities. On this, I am going to recommend that we delete on page 4, lines 18 to 20, removing the list of contractors from the requirements. The bill already contains a effective date. So as amended, members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair.
Chair's recommendation.
Amendments.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1787 HD1 with amendments. Chair and Vice Chair vote aye. Rep. Ichiyama.
Aye.
Rep. Kobayashi.
Aye.
Rep. Lopresti is excused. Rep. Lowen.
Aye.
Rep. McKelvey. Excused. Rep. Nakamura.
Aye.
Rep. Takumi.
Aye.
Rep. Todd.
Aye.
Rep. Tokioka.
Aye.
Rep. Ward. You're muted, Rep. Ward. I think you said aye.
Yes, big aye.
Thank you. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. House Bill 2347, House Draft 1, related to capital improvement projects for the State Archives. The bill contains a blank dollar amount and also a defective effective date. Chair's recommendation is that we move it as is and note in the committee report $1 million for planning. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
As is.
Oh, as is, I'm sorry.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2347 HD1 as is, noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. House Bill 2449, House Draft 1, related to the State Archives. This is for staffing positions in the State Archives. The bill contains a blank dollar amount and a defective effective date. Chair would like to also note in the committee report $720,000 for the staffing costs. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2449 HD1 as is, noting the previous excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no?
Chair, I'm here just for the record.
Nope. Noting the welcome presence of Rep. McKelvey. Any members voting with reservations or no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. House Bill 2491 related to the Hawaiian language. Chair's recommendation is we amend the bill by requiring its application to letterheads as well as the main page of official websites and in the letterhead of their stationery as a full and not employ the other requirements at this time. My thought is that this bill has moved several times and failed. And so I'm hoping by limiting the scope, we can get used to that and then move forward in a much grander way. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as
No,
amended.
Chair, I have a question. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, yes, Representative Ward.
Chair, instead of saying Representative Nakashima on your letterhead, will it say that in Hawaiian or that's part of the one that's being excluded?
Well, I think Nakashima has no
Oh, no.
Hawaiian translation.
We're not going to build you in, but the word representative says it's supposed to be translated. So it
Yes,
is-
so in the letterhead, there would be a translation saying whatever the Hawaiian word for representative is.
does anyone know what that word is? Not so.
We're about to find out.
Yeah, we
So that
will
stays-
find out.
That stays in though. My point, Chair, is that word stays in, representative in Hawaiian stays in. So in Hawaiian word, Nakashima, in Hawaiian word, Mataoshi, etc.
Okay,
Okay, got it. Thank you.
thank you very much. Members, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2491, HD1 with amendments noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. House Bill 1894, House Draft 1 related to human remains. Chair's recommendation is that we amend the bill by adding in line 5, on page 5, line 6, before section 3, quote, the sterile wastewater shall be discharged into the sewer system as approved by the counties, end quote. That we add the word existing on page 4, line 3. So it now reads existing licensing requirements. And number 3, substitute on page 3, line 15, department, meaning the Department of Health. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1894, HD1 with amendments noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. House Bill 2015, House Draft 1 related to the University of Hawaii. The bill already contains a defective effective date. The chair would like to note in the committee report a question as to whether the UH School of Law is an appropriate placement for this program. Otherwise, moving it forward as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2015, HD1 as is, noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. House Bill 2176 related to the Board of Taxation, Taxation Review. Chair's recommendation is that we pass this out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2176, HD1 as is, noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. HB 1863, House Draft 1, related to landlord-tenant disputes. It has been noted that by judiciary that there are pilot programs in place in the First and Second Circuits, and we'd like to give that the circuit courts opportunity to test out the program. So the chair's recommendation is we defer this matter indefinitely. House Bill 1581, House Draft 1 related to homelessness. Chair's recommendation on this is also to defer this measure. On House Bill 1917 related to affordable housing. Chair's recommendation is that we pass this out as is. Members, questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1917 as is, noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
House Bill 2109, House Draft 1 relating to Barbering and Cosmetology Licensing Act. Chair's recommendation is that we pass this out with technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Members, any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, Vice Chair as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2109 with amendments noting the previously excused members. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much. House Bill 1691, House Draft 1, related to commercial driver's licenses. Chair's recommendation is that we amend this, technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. The bill already contains a defective effective date. Members, any questions or comments?
Sorry, we have the wrong vote sheet for this one.
Oh.
It's the wrong committee. We got a brief recess.
Brief reset. Thank you for your patience, members. House Bill 1691, House Draft 1, technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. Bill already contains a defective effective date. There were no questions, so Vice Chair, as amended.
The chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1691 HD1 with amendments noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you. House Bill 2246, House Draft 1, relating to the State Highway Enforcement Program surcharge. Bill contains a blank surcharge amount and a blank effective date. Chair's recommendation is pass this out as is. Are there any questions or comments?
Chair, question.
Representative Ward.
Does this include the arrival terminal parking is a state highway for this fine? I wasn't clear when the DOT testified or wrote their thing. Or is this more when you park illegally along the freeway, but not the airport? Because at the airport is just a mad scramble to get people's bags in and get out of the airport.
I think it's just state highways, right?
Yeah, I think it's just state highways. I don't think the airport is state highways.
So there's no small print that would include the airport. Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2246 HD1 as is, noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. House Bill 2336, House Draft 1, relating to the photo red light imaging detector system program. Chair's recommendation is technical amendments for clarity, consistency, and style. We will note that the bill already contains a defective effective date. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2336 HD1 with amendments noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, House Bill 1686, House Draft 1 related to digital identification. Bill contains a defective effective date. Chair's recommendation passes out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1686 HD1 as is, noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, House Bill 2218 relating to the Frank T. Okimoto Reef Runway. Chair's recommendation is that we pass this out as is. Members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, Vice Chair, as is.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 2218 as is, noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much. HB 1788, House Draft 1 relating to the Waikiki Peninsula redevelopment. Chair will defer decision-making on this until Wednesday, 2 p.m. And finally, a bill for reconsideration of prior decision-making heard on February 8, 2022. HB 1878 related to the judiciary. Chair moves on for reconsideration of the measure. And Vice Chair, if you can take the vote, reconsideration.
Chair's recommendation is to reconsider HB 1878. Noting the previously excused member, are there any members voting with reservations on the motion to reconsider? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you very much, members. The chair's recommendation on this measure is to initiate a LRB study to consider if the Supreme Court should be a single term like the United States Supreme Court. The concern is that if a justice retires and the decision has not been issued on a case, apparently the ICA ruling stands. So we would like to study this issue and see if the LRB can come up with a recommendation for us. The report to the legislature 20 days before the convening of the 2023 legislative session. Members, any questions or comments?
Chair, question.
Yes.
What does the CJ suggest?
The CJ did not suggest because the initial bill had no reference to the issue of concern.
But hopefully the LRB will consult with him and with the other justices.
Oh,
to make this.
that is usually what they do.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Chair?
Representative McKelvey.
Yes, sorry. Hey, my concern is actually procedural in that it appears that it sounds like that this new version of the bill is different, much different than the one that was introduced. And given the Supreme Court's recent ruling on gut and replaces, that this bill may be dangerously close to that. I did so far as being able to meet the 3 readings requirements, that it's still germane to the bill at hand. I just bring that up as a procedural concern, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much.
My understanding is that we're just turning it into a study of McKelvey, that the original bill amends the period so that to make the Supreme Court into kind of a year-round thing, and all we're doing is doing a study on whether that's a good idea instead.
No, I the contact, the substance is fine. I support it completely. Do a study, but is the study being mandated in this version remarkably different than the original one? You see what I'm saying? That's all. So
Yeah, I don't think it is, but I mean, your point is well noted.
yeah, I'm just making, because I like the idea of the study. So don't get me wrong. Don't shoot the messenger.
It does appear germane is, I think, the criteria that they put up. It seems pretty germane. In fact, probably more informed to have the LRB do the study than if we winged it as legislators.
Okay, members, any other questions, concerns? Okay, if not, Vice Chair, as amended.
Chair's recommendation is to pass HB 1878 as amended, noting the previously excused member. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Okay, thank you very much, members. Hearing tomorrow and on Wednesday. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.